So we just want to stick this little baby down in the ground like that. You can leave the tip sticking out of the soil if you want to, or you can kind of cover it up completely. What's up, Lazy Dog fam? Hope all y'all are having a fantastic day. It is Sunday, July 7th here in South Georgia, and lately we've been getting a lot of questions about these little jewels right here, these Louisiana Evergreen Shallots. So I figured I'd use this video as an opportunity to answer some of those questions, and then we're going to get some of these planted in this spot right behind me. So a few weeks ago in one of our no-till plots, not this one right behind me, but the one right beside it, we finally harvested our Louisiana Evergreen Shallots after they had been in the ground all the way back to last August. And so after using those plants to harvest some delicious green onion tops for many, many months, we harvested these little shallot bulbs here, which form when it gets hot outside when those summer temps arrive. And so we've had these little bulbs available on our website for several weeks now. We'll pack a bunch, those will sell out, and then we'll pack some more and those will sell out. So we're not completely sold out for the season yet. If you check and there's not any there, just be patient. Usually within a few days we get more listed on the site. But as people have been ordering and receiving these, we've been getting lots of questions as far as how do I store them until I'm ready to plant, when do I plant them, how do I plant them, all kind of stuff. So I figured this would be a great opportunity on this video to answer a lot of those questions, and then like I said earlier, we'll show you how we plant them. So let's start off with the first question, the one we probably get the most frequently, which is, can they be grown where I live? Now, as I've told you before, I don't have any great ways of testing cold hardiness. I can tell you that they seem to take temperatures down to 20 degrees just fine, kind of like our normal bulbing onions do. So last year and this year, we've had people from all over the country ordering these things, and I've yet to hear of anyone having any issues. That's not to say that anyone hasn't had any issues, I just haven't heard about it yet. But to just err on the safe side of things, if you're regularly getting below 20 degrees during the winter where you live, you might not want to plant these things outside and overwinter them like we do. Yes, they're really easy to grow in a pot, in a container. You can grow them inside your house and protect them that way. But I don't know how risky you want to get with trying to see just how cold hardy they are. Now, another question we've been getting related to that is, I didn't know you could grow shallots in the deep south, and I didn't either until I discovered these things here. I have tried to grow traditional shallots many times, and they just never bulb for me. They'll multiply out, but I never get a bulb. I just get kind of a long, slender stalk there. These Louisiana Evergreen Shallots will indeed bulb down here in the deep south. Now, the second question we've been getting a lot lately is, what do I do with these things until I'm ready to plant? So lately we've been shipping them all in these little mesh bags here, which has some nice airflow, and you could technically just leave them in this bag right here until you're ready to plant. Airflow is important. If you've got them in an area where they can kind of generate or collect some moisture, they're going to try to sprout on you. So having good airflow, just having them in a dry place until you're ready to plant, these things will store just fine. And so here's what's left of what we harvested a few weeks ago. I've just had mine in this crate right here. Obviously it's got holes in it, got some nice airflow. Just have had this sitting underneath the barn. It's been pretty hot outside, doesn't seem to bother these things. Just had them in the shade underneath the barn with some nice airflow, and they're storing really, really well for us. And then the third question we've been getting, when do I plant these things? Can I plant them now, or do I need to wait? So these things are a little bit different than a traditional bulbing onion. We usually wait until November to plant those around here. But last year we planted our Louisiana Evergreen Shallots in August, and they did great. So according to my buddy Cajun B over in South Louisiana, who kind of turned me on to these things, LSU recommends planting them in August like we did last year. However, he says a lot of the people where he lives in South Louisiana, they plant theirs in July, and he's actually planting some in July. And today I'm going to plant some in July. So I don't think it would hurt anything to plant them right now. Yes, if you don't have your spot ready, you can wait until August and plant them, probably even September, and be okay. So these things are tough as nails. I don't think you can really hurt them by planting too early. Planting in August last year, August is usually the hottest month we have, so that heat didn't bother them at all. And the sooner you plant them, the sooner you'll have some green onion tops that you can cut. Now, if you live in a northern climate, I don't know that I would just hold on to them and wait all the way until next spring when things warmed up a little bit and plant them then. If I was in a northern climate and I knew the winter was probably too harsh for these things, like I said, I would just grow them in a pot. You can move them at any point. We demonstrated that last year. We moved ours several times. You can pull them up, split them apart, move them whenever you like. But I'd go ahead and get them planted in, say, a pot or a container, something I could protect them in, and then maybe next spring you could split them up, put them outside, and kind of see how they do for you that way. Also, if you're just itching to get these things planted, but maybe you don't have your in-ground garden plot ready, you could plant these things in a pot or a container, let them get growing, and then split them up, plant them in the ground whenever you have your in-ground plot ready. Much like we did last year, we planted these in a raised bed and they multiplied so much we ended up moving them to an in-ground plot and they made the transition just fine. So you really can't hurt these things. You can split them up and move them anytime you want. So now that we've covered all those questions, let's get some planted for ourselves. Here we are at the end of the first week in July, so let's go for it. So I'm going to plant one double row today in this plot right here where we still have some tomatoes rocking, got some cucumbers down there kind of on the way out, and got our third planting of squash right here just starting to produce. We've got a drip line right here where we pulled up some squash a few videos ago, and that's going to be the perfect spot to go ahead and get one double row of these shallots planted. So I've already kind of determined that this plot is where I'm going to be planting my bulb and onions come November. I know that seems like a long ways away, but it won't be long before we'll be thinking about onions and cool season veggies. So I'll have a lot of alliums in this plot. We'll do the shallots kind of on that end of the plot, and then over this way is where we'll end up planting our bulb and onions in a few months. So real quick, I'll kind of walk you through the steps of getting this row ready to plant these jewels here. There are a few weeds out there because we've been getting so many afternoon showers lately, but most of those will get flipped over as we get this row ready. So step number one was to pull back that drip tape. We leave it connected there. We're still going to use it. We just need it out of the way for a minute. Step number two is to take the wheel hoe and make us a little furrow there to rebury our drip tape. Step number three is to lay that drip tape line, which we left connected, down into that furrow we just made. Step number four is to add a relatively balanced granular fertilizer down in that furrow there. We use the Coop Grow, and I usually put down about one of those scoops for a 30-foot row like we have here. And step number five is to close that furrow or cover that drip tape in fertilizer, and we do that with the wheel hoe as well. And then step number six would be to put those little bulbs in the ground. So that whole process there gave us two nice little mini furrows, one on each side of that drip tape, and that's where we'll be putting our bulbs. Now obviously if you order one of these little bags from us which has 10 bulbs in it, you're not going to have enough to plant an entire 30-foot double row like we're about to plant here. But hopefully you can do just like we did last year, plant a handful of bulbs like this, let them grow out, let them start multiplying, split them apart if you want to, spread them out even more, let them multiply even more, and come summer you should harvest enough to then have enough to plant a 30-foot row the following year. Now I should also mention you don't have to grow these things on drip irrigation, but much like a traditional onion, they do like plenty of water. These seem to be fairly drought tolerant and pretty tough, but I think you'll get much better performance out of them if you water them well. Now obviously I've got way more than enough here for just this 30-foot double row, but I'm probably going to end up planting one or two more rows in this little spot right here whenever that squash is done. So much like you'd plant a clove of garlic, you want to plant this pointy end up right here. That's the vegetative end, and then you can see the root end there where those old roots are kind of dried and shriveled. So we just want to stick this little baby down in the ground like that. You can leave the tip sticking out of the soil if you want to, or you can kind of cover it up completely. I'm going to go ahead and plug several in the ground here before I start covering them up. I'm going to go with about a 6 to 8 inch spacing, just knowing how much these things will multiply and spread. You could plant them closer, you just need to be prepared to maybe divide them out and give them some more space as they grow. So we'll say 6 to 8 inches should be good there. Another thing I should mention, I have noticed, and I was talking to Cajun Bee about this as well, that these little bitty bulbs do just as good as the bigger ones there. So bulb size is not an indication of eventual plant performance. We get just as good a growth out of these tiny ones as we do the real big bulbs. So once I've got 4 or 5 or 6 of them placed out like that, then I'll just cover them up and keep scooting on down the row. All right, so I actually had a slight change in plans as I started working down that row a little bit. Because this soil here is pretty soft, I'm able to seat those little bulbs down in there and ain't got to worry about them flipping over or anything. So I just stuck them all into the furrow, and I'm gonna come back behind them with a rake here and cover them all up a lot faster. Now, if it was really dry around here, I'd probably go ahead and turn on that drip tape, get that bed nice and moistened down for when those shallot bulbs start to sprout. But since it's been raining almost every day, that soil's nice and moist, especially if you dig on down a little bit, and we're supposed to get some more rain later this afternoon. So I doubt I'll turn on the water until it dries back up again. These should sprout pretty fast considering how warm that soil is and the fact we've got some nice moisture in there right now. And from my experiences last year, once these things get up and growing, you can hit them as hard as you want to hit them as far as fertilizer goes. So we'll probably give ours some of that Nature Safe 1300, some straight nitrogen once they get up and going. I've yet to over fertilize mine. You can go as hard as you want, or you can kind of not fertilize them much at all and they'll still grow pretty well for you. So just push them as hard as you feel comfortable pushing them. So I hope you enjoyed the video today. I hope everybody that purchased these from us last year has a really nice planting stock for this year, and everybody that's purchasing from us this year has a really good grow out and harvest next year. And if you are growing these things, say middle of the country or even up north, please do share in the comments below how cold hardy you found them to be, so some of our other viewers can learn how they might perform in their area. And if you want to see what these things look like once they start multiplying and how to divide them out and split them up, watch this video right here. We'll show you that process that we did last year in our raised bed garden. So check that out, and we'll see you next time right here at Lazy Dog Farm.